And welcome to today's session on European Shepherding Schools, which is brought to you today by Miserio, International Institute for Environment and Development, IIED, and Miserio, and the International Year of the Rangelands and Pastoralist 2026. My name is David Pertop. I'm from IIED, a researcher from IIED. I'm joined today with my colleagues on the IIED and Miserio tutor-guided MOOC, Sabine, Jacob, Elena, and we have guest speakers, Alessandro and Dr. Francisco. I won't speak too much. I'll give you a little bit of a background on this webinar. If we can move to the next slide, please.
Next slide.
So the background to this, oops, no, back one. And back again, please. So two back. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. So the background to this talk is a special session that we're doing of the MOOC, which is an online training course that was developed by Miserio and IIED together with Saverio Kratli. This particular MOOC is about pastoralism and development, and it particularly looks at the knowledge of pastoralism and things that discourses and narratives around pastoralism and ways of knowing pastoralism and so on. And it takes a critical look at that and tries to deconstruct some of the assumptions around pastoralism and development. So a special edition of this MOOC was run recently together with the youth working group of the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists. And as this MOOC was going on, a number of key issues kept coming up. And they're really very interesting issues around things like the future of pastoralism, worries about the loss of indigenous knowledge, the phenomenon of hired hands being brought in, so pastoralists are no longer doing their herding. And a really important discussion that came up yesterday, in particular in one of our sessions, about this need to choose between education or pastoralism, where school curricula and sort of primary school and secondary school and higher education really do not allow for any training there's no recognition of pastoralism at all. And so pastoralists and pastoralist communities often have to make this decision. Are they going to get educated, or are they going to go into a career in pastoralism, if that is, if a career is the right word. So there are all of these various different themes that are coming up. And we see a lot of correlation we thought that there were some interesting parallels between what's happening in the global south, the trajectory of pastoralism in the global south, where in many ways, because of state neglect and sometimes open hostility to pastoralism in policy, there is this sense that the space for pastoralism is decreasing, versus this renewed trend and interest in pastoralism in Europe, as evidenced actually by the pastoralist school, the growth in the pastoralist schools that we're seeing. And so we thought it would be interesting to bring together these different groups of people, the youth from the global south, and those who are working with pastoralist schools in Europe, to see where there might be areas of convergence and areas of divergence and just general lessons that we might be takeaways that we might have from this experience. In this picture, you can see a unit from the actual MOOC. It's the unit on modernization and youth. Just gives you a little bit of a flavor. Next slide, please. Thank you. So yes, just before we get into the speakers, sorry, I thought I would start with just a shameless plug of our Pastoralism and Development MOOC. We're actually running another edition, a general edition of it, which will be starting on March 9th. It's a tutored edition. It runs for 5 weeks, 3 weeks of online study material. It's about 5 hours a week, and 5 weekly meetings with occasional thematic meetings. So if any of you are interested, you're very welcome to enroll on this. Here is the the QR code for the course. If you click on that, or if you click through that with your phone, you will get through to an enrollment page, and you're very welcome to join us on that. So otherwise, please do feel free to contact the organizers, me or any of the other organizers, and we will send you the details. So that's enough of the plug. I'll now pass you on to my colleague Sabine on the next slide, who will talk you through the agenda for today.
Okay, first of all, welcome to everyone in the room. I'm Sabina Dollichter-Sulzer. I'm working as a Rural Development Officer within the Africa Department and Middle East Department of Miserior. Miserior is a faith-based organization in Germany. And we are also, among other top or thematic fields, we are also working in the field of pastoral development together with our partners. We are not operational, but working via partner organizations in the Global South. So for today, we have the following program. First presentation will be done by Alessandro Dessi. He will introduce an overview about what happens around pastoral schools in Europe. We will have some points of clarification. Afterwards, we will look at the short film which introduced the second part of the presentations, which is on the Andalusian shepherding schools by Francisco de Aziz Ruiz Morales. And then you will have a lot of time also to ask questions, and we hope also that we come into a certain kind of discussion together. And of course, we are curious to learn what you caught your attention, and where you see or where certain things resonate with your experience on pastoralism elsewhere on the globe, and what kind of lessons and insights can we draw from this session. So this is our program of today. I wish you a pleasant session, and next slide. First of all, let me introduce Alessandro Dessi. Alessandro Dessi is from Italy. He's an environmental scientist. He has one foot in academia and another in the field of development cooperation, where he's working as a senior expert. He works as freelancer in Europe as well as in Latin America, Africa, Middle East, and Asia. He covers a wide range of thematic fields like sustainability, climate change, land use planning, biodiversity, agrobiodiversity, and the like, with a strong focus on food justice and food sovereignty. Currently, he gives a training in Dominican Republic in Central America, where it is just past 6 o'clock in the morning, so an excellent time for early birds. So good morning, Alessandro. Welcome to the special event on European shepherding schools, and the floor is yours. Next slide, please.
Thank you very much, Sabine, for this introduction. Thank you, everybody, for being there. Thank you for inviting me, the organizers. I'm quite excited to be involved in this, as pastoralism and livestock people have been a passion for me since my origin is in Sardinia, which is somewhere in the center of the map you're looking there, and it's a land where pastoralism has a strong background, and also it's important for the culture and for the economy traditionally. And I don't really know where exactly our audience is there today, and what kind of expertise, of knowledge they have about pastoralism and livestock keeping, and probably most of them, if not everybody, knows more than me, as I am on an NGO or consultancy or development institutes track since the last over 20 years now. So I met a lot of livestock people, but I'm not involved in livestock, and at the moment, not even in lobbying or advocacy for livestock explicitly. And yeah, I'm shy to speak here, and I will be more than happy to share the little I know about pastoral schools. I don't know if it is worth to just quickly recall for those who are not based in Europe here that we're not speaking about an easy business even here, and even if we have pastoral schools, I mean, for decades, the European Common Agricultural Policy was absorbing over 70% of the entire budget of the European Union. Back then, it was like not even 15 countries. Today, it's twice that number. But agricultural budget, common agricultural budget, was a very important voice in the budget and in the policies of our countries. And it was not defending pastoralists, all the contrary. I mean, we had trends that are very well known in the rest of the world, with people just dropping out of rural settings to go towards crowded cities, and livestock becoming every time more intensive, with every time less space for open air, free roaming, herding, and livestock people related to that, despite thousands of years of traditions and a very important voice in our cultural backbone, I would say. And so one of the effects is that even in Europe, in the Mediterranean region of Europe, we have scarily low turnover rates of pastoralists. And if they were once regarded as those who can, let's say, feed their community, like making food out of ecosystems, of natural environments where anyone else could hardly produce any food, due to their capacity to adapt and to cope and deal with the environmental and nature variability and so on. I don't want to make it too long. I think you all know about what I'm talking about now. So from these, let's say, at least culturally very high position, they were dropping down to be in this category that had no other options. They were not going for education, for instance, as David was recalling 5 minutes ago, and they had no many options to educate their children, or if they had, educated people were not coming back to the village where parents were still keeping basically goats and sheep. And this trend continues still nowadays. And we have, of course, country, let's say, good practices and examples telling that there were pastoralists who did good. Still, it was inside their own business or inside their own family that the tradition was kept. And of course, we have had since always groups of let's say shepherds, people that were just salaried, paid workers for the livestock owner, dealing much worse than the others that had probably land and the possibility to invest and to adapt to innovate over time, while others were just worsening their condition. So it was surprising for me too to find that there were pastoral schools around in Europe a few years ago, I mean, and you have here in this map a sort of little mapping of schools that I touched on my research in 2023. And since then, I've been sharing this many times, not because I'm such an expert, but because very little is shared and known about that. Now, a very good friend of mine that is now not anymore with us told me once something that you have heard probably many other times around, and it's that putting together pastoralists, it's like herding cats. And for the schools, I think the same kind of thing can be said. I mean, they're working on local basis. They are very much renowned around their territory. They're sometimes making sort of advertising to announce their courses, but they do not talk to each other, or they didn't used to talk to each other. and at least not used to share things or to do things together. Can we move to the next slide and then back to this one? This is just giving us a picture of numbers, and we have a very little number of schools, as you see, for the entire 20th century, starting in the 30s with one school in France, which is the renowned Domaine du Merle in Montpellier. And if you see, like at the beginning of 2000, we have a little increase in the number. And today we are around, we have around 30 schools. And most of them have around 10 years of experience. So it's a very fresh thing. And as they were growing in numbers, also the interest to share and to discuss among them was arising. One of the drivers of this will to share is, of course, that funding for these schools or funding for activities of these schools is coming from European funds under different projects or programs and budget lines that tend to make people work in networks, especially in international networks. And I'm speaking about live programs or Prima programs nowadays and Horizon 2020, these kind of things that put together research, application of research and good practices and so on. And this is where I had the first chance to come across pastoral schools in an international meeting where I met also Francisco, which is here today from Andalusia, and started exploring. Sorry, how long am I being speaking? I had to start a time
Yes.
clock, which I didn't know, just to
Okay,
know.
I think you still have some time.
Okay.
Do you want to go back to the first slide?
Yes, I think is worth at this
Okay.
point.
Back,
But if you
that's
just
fine.
keep one number in your mind, you will see that we have, let's say, 25 schools nowadays, and the average number of students per school doesn't reach 20. So, and I asked, I was telling yesterday, when we were sharing about how to address this little talk here today, I was asking repeatedly to the school leaders or teachers I met of the research I made, how many pastoralists in about are there around you where you are running your trainings. And just to give you a picture, we are training like 20 maximally in settings where the pastoralists operating are a few hundreds at least. So it's a small minority. This is another thing to be said. I mean, schools can have an impact, but nowadays, as for their numbers, is not that much so. What they are impacting, in my opinion, is that they're gaining visibility, or they are contributing to regain visibility for pastoralists and for their role. This goes together with an increasing awareness of the quality of the food products they can produce and ecosystem services they can provide, which start to be acknowledged at the European level, also in terms of economic payments for pastoralists to contribute, for instance, to control wildfires. And this happens in Portugal and in Spain, in different parts of the country. And as for the ecosystem services, we have this Natura 2000 directive, which is telling us a classification of European ecosystems, and that forces countries to protect a given number of ecosystems in which pastoral land or pasture ecosystems are included. Now, this register telling us what to protect tells also us that we have to keep pastoralists in the ground, because otherwise pasture lands and rangelands will just evolve, as naturally vegetation does, to shrublands and then eventually to woods, with a loss of biodiversity and losing pastoralists in what we used to call extreme settings, in terms of production and accessibility and quality of life or services available. I mean, keeping them there is part of keeping our ecosystems alive. And a few schools have been making sort of a path that others weren't following, but since they didn't talk, especially when they were being founded and running their first courses, there's a very big diversity in the their approach, the focus of the teachings, and the mission they have. I would start saying like a few key differences or a few key features of the schools, like how to enroll, like how long will the training last, what kind of subjects you learn, and then about the governance of the school or their nature and their sustainability over time in terms of budget and the impact on the ground. Enrolling in the pastoral schools in Europe is generally, let's say, easy in terms of access criteria, because many of them are just addressing people with not necessarily a high education level, as they are mostly attached to vocational training or learning jobs. And the most famous ones, the most experienced ones in France, they are part of the vocational training system in the country. And also we have to know that they are training people to go to summer pastures over the Alpine region and over the Pyrenees region. They get trained with a very long and, let me say, detailed teaching on how to deal with herds, with natural variables, with livestock in general, also with predators, also with tourists sometimes, because dealing with predators means having dogs. Having dogs means teaching people how to behave around them. And so it's strangely enough, it's a conflict of views issue with about the mountain territories sometimes. And this is part of the, let's say, of the teaching many times. And these professional schools or vocational training schools don't really, in general, I mean, don't really stress about other things that may help pastoralists or the students to become pastoralists with their own herds and flocks, because they are meant to be salaried employees for the livestock owners, which own large herds and hardly go up in the mountain where the shepherds are there. Besides this, we have even in France, but mostly in Spain and Italy and the Swiss and Austrian situations are a bit of a mix in between, as far as I can talk about that, which is not 100% coverage of the sector, of course. However, in Spain, we have a little bit of a diversity among those schools, like with the one where Francisco works, that he will tell us about after I close here. That are also part of the state vocational training system, and that are based in the regions, and they are admitting people regardless their previous education track and titles, to give them also employment opportunities later, and access to unemployed sustained measures, while others are more like oriented or inspired by NGO or social movements or citizens and urban movements willing to get back to the rural settings. And this is the, let's say, the new point regard as in regard to the French I was mentioning before. And in this case, we will have teachings that are also facing social issues and economical sustainability of the school itself on one side, and on the pastoral life on the other side. So they are teaching economic or budget administration related matters and diversification of the business related matters. And it's curious enough to see that in parallel you have what the school does and what they teach in terms of, for instance, having a known flock or a known herd, using that to teach, but also to make dairy products and selling it around. One of the examples, for instance, is in the northern País Vasco in Spain, where they have their own cheese production and they sell the cheese, and that's part of making the budget of the school. Many times they run for public funds on a yearly basis, which guarantees the continuity of the activities, but not the possibility to plan for 5, 6, 7 years or so, or not under a 100% covered budget. And they make other things. They diversify, like they make projects with school kids and so on. So the social impact is higher, but their instability is higher too, which reminds us of pastoral life conditions. The duration of the trainings is also very much variable. It ranges from a few, let's say 2 weeks on just a given specific dairy product making to 18 months, alternating indoor and outdoor activities. Another thing that I find very important is to see how the outdoor activities or the practice activities are run. And in many schools, they refer to operating livestock keepers and pastoralists in their own settings, which on one side is helping not to lose their legacy. On the other side is helping to build social networking around them, especially when the students decide to stay in that area and become pastoralists. They most of the time start as employee of another livestock owner, and they eventually get their own herd and they settle in that region. And one interesting case, I think, is the French school in the Central Pyrenees region, where they not only train and send the students with the pastoralists in or just alone, because they become able to do so with herds in the very remote, at least, mountain settings where they keep them for the summer. They also help them to settle in terms of finding job for the winter season in the same area, probably in the tourism sector or in the same livestock sector, which means also supporting them in finding housing and other possibilities to stay there. And so over time, these experiences impact on the territory as they keep training people that remain around and become an active element, a driver of innovation in the region. To give a picture of how high can this impact be, I could show you. I don't have it here at hand, but can share it later. I mean, I was tracking also in the newspaper the announcement of the launch of these pastoral schools, and of course it's normally local newspapers. And this article in Spain was speaking about the tremendous impact of those who remained in the village as pastoralists. And it was, I mean, a school for 4 pastoralists. 2 of them remained in the village, and that was a very high impact. And that gives you a picture of how big is the problem in turnover in pastoralism, and also in desertifying these settings. How are we in time, Sabine?
I would say 1 minute left.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, you try.
Let me spend this minute to tell something about this Italian experience, which has its peculiarity, not because I'm Italian. I mean, if I've been making this research from France, I would stress this too, because one of the very important thing is, to my opinion, but I mean, it's quite a common and easy thing to think, involving pastoralists in the design of the school and of the teaching is very important. And we had this case in which researchers that have been working on extensive livestock systems, they sit together thinking what is needed for running a efficient and pastoral school able to empower pastoralists, and they designed a curriculum. And they were then everyone in their own situation trying to find funds to implement these training. So we have a sort of a common pattern that is being adapted to local situations. And one of the actors behind this is called Rete Appia, Appia Network, which puts together practitioners, researchers, NGOs, and tries and keep linked pastoralists in the activities and in the network. And Rete Appia has also inside people that are running European projects or running for European funds, and so it's interested in networking with other realities, and together with other pastoral schools or people around the pastoral schools, I think are eventually making an impact. Having said that, the situation is not easy for the schools. In many cases, in some cases, schools are doing great, but they're not training, let's say, active pastoralists making a social or an economic change by themselves. They're just they're as employees of bigger and intensive farming system, livestock farming systems. So there's a lot in there, and what I hope is they keep exchanging and talking and contributing to build together more acknowledged and renowned or regarded role of pastoralists for our societies and ecosystems. I would stop here, being ready to give you more details about point experiences or general cases as you wish. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you so much, Alessandro. That was a very rich and interesting overview about the diversity of pastoral schools in some parts of Southern Europe. So thank you very much. I think, as David posted in the chat, we might run into time constraints. So if you have further questions, you want to dig deeper, to understand what happens with these different schools. So please put them into the chat. If you have any kind of points of clarification now, that would be the possibility now, but only points of clarification. So I'm looking around. Is there anything? I think in the chat, as far as I've seen, there was none.
There's nothing, Sabine, in the chat
Okay.
right now.
Okay. If it's like that, we
would like just to give a small idea. I can put a film
Francesca?
on the yeah.
Okay.
I would like to make a small adding a small point. We are running between 6 countries and 3 continents. That's Italy, France, Greece, Romania, Morocco, and Mongolia, an Erasmus Plus project, which is including transhumance in the vocational training of high schools of all these countries, high schools and university. I will put in the chat a small film that you can see whenever you have time for it, just on that has been made by the students of this and what they think about pastoralism and about transhumance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francesca, for this very interesting additional information. I think we will curiously look at the film after our session today. Thank you. So maybe we can have the next slide. Yeah, as there are no points of clarification now, next slide. So I introduce you the next presenter. It's Francisco de Aziz Ruiz Morales. He's from Spain. He is technical specialist in research, experimentation, and training, working for the Andalusian Institute for Agriculture, Fisheries, Food, and Organic Production Research and Training. And since 2015 to present, he's the director of the Andalusian Shepherding School in Andalusia. So he has several degrees. Most recent ones is a master degree in animal husbandry with focus on sheep and goats. And he has a PhD in environmental science. So furthermore, I think all the efforts in the Andalusian Shepherding School has been also already awarded by the regional, national, and European administration. And he's also regional director of the International Goat Association in Western Europe, IGA, and National Goat Forum in Spain. So welcome very much to Francisco. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
We are eager to listen to your presentation. Next
Okay,
slide,
thank you.
please.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the invitation and for giving the opportunity for explain our project Andalusian Shepherd School. I will try in 5-6 minutes to give some idea about this project. And excuse me for me, little English. I try to learn 3 languages. Little English, little French, little Italian, and finally, very, very good Spanish. Okay? The next one.
Next slide.
Okay. Okay, we are in the south of Europe. Andalusia is a Spanish region with a strong Mediterranean influence. In our region, livestock farming is an important activity. Sheep, cow, goat, and pig are in the landscape. And some territory, livestock is an important economy activity too. We have different farm model in mountain, in river, or agro-ecosystem. For us, for the school, too is very, very important, the Andalusian local breeds. We have 19 local breeds in all regions, 6 local sheep, 7 cow breeds, and 6 goat breeds. Okay, next one. Okay, the Andalusian Shepherd School started in 2010. For us, the main priority is to generate employment in the pastoral livestock sector in Andalusia. We have a very, very big problem with the young people. No are interested for the livestock. This one is the beginning of the Andalusian Shepherd School. Okay, next one. Okay, some important aspect for our project. The first one is mobility. Okay, the first 6 weeks of each edition of the Andalusian Shepherd School started in Granada, where I work, and then each year we change the situation. Okay, the 6 weeks first in Granada, and then the 5 weeks we have a mobile campus, and this mobile campus is situated in different territory where livestock is important. Next one. Okay, the first edition is in the north of Granada province with this local breed, Segureña. Okay, another one. Okay, transhumance in the north of province of Jaén, the 7th edition with Segureña local breed. Next one. And during COVID, we have eliminated the mobility, and we have organized the 2 editions the Andalusian Shepherd School in the Granada. Okay, Granada is very important. It's a site with the mountain, or model with mountain with transhumance is very important. We have worked with this system or model. Okay. Okay. The second aspect important for us, the relationship with the sector. Okay, next one. Okay. We have 2 important steps. The first one is the shepherd mentor. Shepherd mentor are active farmers who receive students in the practical period. We have two periods. One of them is the theoretical practice, and another one is only practice in the farm with the shepherd mentor. Next one. And then many association, company, university, research institute participate in the theoretical part of the school. Normally, we have 50 different teachers in the theory practical part. Next one. Okay. We have a high rate of students went into the sector between, next one, between 40, 80% of students work after training in the livestock sector. For example, Laura and her partner Belu, they work in the Sierra de Madrid with a Malagueña flock, goat flock, and process the milk from the goats into the cheese. Okay, next one. And then for us, or for me, it's very important the visibility of the shepherd for the society. Next one. We are able to show society the work of the shepherd and their animal. For me, it's the most important result of our school. It's very important, this one. Press, radio, television are interested in our school, and we can show how young people are worker in the livestock sector or animal sector, and try to show all jobs who shepherd all day they do. Okay, it's the first presentation, and then some questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Francisco, for that really interesting presentation on the Andalusian Shepherd Schools. Now, we've been saving all of the questions for last, which I imagine lots of people have things that they want to ask Alessandro and Francisco. So can I suggest that I open the floor now to everybody here? And if you'd raise your hand, if you have something that you would like to ask, you can also, if you prefer, just stick it in the chat if you'd like. But yes, please. Any questions for Alessandro or for Francisco? Quite.
Can I talk?
Please, yes, go
Are
ahead.
you listening to me? Okay, I'm Carolina. I'm talking from Portugal, from
Mhm.
Algarve in the south, near Andalusia. And so I would like to ask to Francisco how they do or how they start to prepare the mentors for the school, because I
Okay,
think that is a very important issue in the teaching. Yeah.
okay. Now, actually, we have 140 shepherd mentor. Okay,
Okay.
they are farmer, active farmer. They have they are no, they have the possibility to take a student, and then they have to do a small training, 20 hours with us, to show why it's important the Andalusian Shepherd School, what is or what will be his or her job with us, and a little training. Normally, they are in association, breed association, or cooperative. Normally, the shepherd mentor, we have a very big list of shepherd mentor for students.
Okay. Thank you. I will send you then an email or something to me to talk
Yes,
a little bit. Thank you.
I remember.
It's better.
Thank you for that contribution. While you were saying that, I was thinking that the role of the shepherd pastor, the shepherd mentor, is really, really important. And it's one of those things that comes up in the MOOC with the youth in the Global South. There's this fear that it might be difficult to transfer indigenous knowledge, that is the understanding of the relationship between animals and the herder and nature, that key series of relationships. It might be quite difficult to transfer that as sort of as knowledge. And I just wonder if you might reflect on, whether you think how you think it can be best done and what the limitations are.
I think it's very important, the social role and the knowledge, pastoral knowledge. We have to search different paths to try what this knowledge transfers to a student. We in the theoretical part, we try to 1 or 2 times per week. We try to invite 1 or 2 shepherd mentor to explain all traditional knowledge in the class. Okay, and then in the practical, because our students go during 240 hours in 3 periods, 2 weeks each period, and then they have to write all traditional knowledge and all job who they did in the farm.
Thank you, Francisco. We have a question in the chat. Question for Paco. Are tutors paid for having the students, or is this a win-win situation where one receives a training and the other one has some work done?
Okay, we pay to shepherd. We pay for teach student, but the quantities depend if a student stay all time with shepherd, he or she sleep, eat, all with the family, or only stay, but in the night the student go back to home. Okay, how many? Between 300 euros and 700 euros per 10 days.
Thank you. Francesca, is there a follow-up on that?
It's very important to pay shepherd.
Okay, there's another question also from Francesca earlier. As she said, as far as I see, are you also having students from whole Spain or also Portugal? Maybe you can, or is it more
we have-
local
we have
participants?
80% of students are from Andalusia. Then 50% is the another region, Spanish region. And then 5% is international students. This year, the last year, we have had Portuguese girl. Senegal boy.
Mhm. Okay.
Can I also ask something to Paco?
Of course.
Go ahead, Alessandro. Go ahead.
Hi, Paco. Bueno, the students of your course, are they meant to settle in the place where the course is taking place, so they have to afford for their own living over that period? Are there grants? I mean, is that costly for them to attend the school? And how long does it take, and what is expected on their side? I mean, what kind of investment is also in financial terms for them?
Okay, the 80% of students they come from the rural territory, and normally his family or her family have a farm, and normally they search to continue with the activity. Then we have had 7% of students who want only work in the farm. No have a farm, only work with contract. Okay, and then 5% of students who continue after training work in the livestock. We have like Laura. I show you now in the slide. Laura didn't have contact with the livestock sector, and she and her partner, they was during 2 years searching in the Madrid, in the Madrid mountain, one possibility to do or to work and to have their own farm. And now, okay, with contact with cheese factory, finally we have some example for people who doesn't have contact with the rural society, and finally they work in the sector.
Thanks, Francisco. Do we have any other questions? There's no other questions in the chat. If you have some other questions, please put your hand up. Do we have any questions from the youth group of the IYRP? So students from the Global South. Do you have any questions for Alessandro or for Francisco? Don't be shy, please do ask. Sabina, you have a question? Oh, let's see. I can't see whose hand is up.
Yeah, I had a question regarding the political support they get. And I think it's addressing Alessandro as well as Francisco. You see, in the recent years, there have been a lot of interest in herders, for example, as a measure to prevent bush or forest fires. There had been interest in the Alpine areas against bush encroachment. So there are quite a lot of political interest in herding nowadays. Do you see any positive effect also in monetary terms or in any kind of support, not only for your Andalusian school, but also politically in a broader sense? That would be one element. And yes, a little bit the more addressed to the participants. You have seen quite a lot of students taking over, actively practicing shepherding during the years. What kind of constraints do they face once they have established their herds? That would be also of interest. So maybe we can gather some more, David, before giving the floor.
There's also a question a little bit about the geographical dispersion of the schools. So Ivana, who's writing in from Bosnia-Herzegovina, is asking whether they have plans or whether there are any plans to open schools in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I guess the more general question is, you know, in that picture, in the film, in the map that you showed us, there's quite a large representation in Western Europe, but we don't see so much in Eastern Europe and perhaps in the Balkans, etc. And perhaps a reflection on whether there are plans to do that and why that is the case. So we have two questions. I think one is about political support and institutional support for shepherding schools, and then the other one is about the scope and the range of schools, the geographical dispersion of the schools. So maybe Alessandro, I'll pass on to you first, and then we'll come back to Francisco.
Well, very quickly, political support, I think, is not part of an organic policy in Italy, at least, while in other countries, schools are settled and permanent, depending on regional, local policies for supporting employment, as Francisco said, or supporting the livestock intensive productions in terms of giving them employees to set up in the mountain summer pasturelands. So on one side is a social thing, and another side is a business thing. I don't think is focusing on pastoralism as a subject or as a main focus to defend or to push or protect. those schools that are running for yearly funds or for funds to keep alive their activities, sometimes they run through local funds accessible to local administrations. And in that case, local decision makers support it. But to my experience, which is, as I said, let me repeat that, I'm not pretending to have 100% coverage of the situation. But my perception is that decision makers, they focus on the possibility to support one edition, but not on making it permanent for as an asset or as a possibility for the territory to re-establish sound extensive livestock herding system. Say that, I find there's many local administrations that are welcoming these kind of possibilities, but they have to be pushed by external initiatives like the one I was no, maybe the meeting hadn't started yet, but on 26th and 7th of March, back when I will be together again on a meeting about pastoral schools in the Italian central Apennine mountain area, which is one of these desertifying regions with very extreme situations for those who live there, that is very much interested in recovering the pastoral identity as an engine to push back people in the territory and have it revitalized, okay? But then you have to sort of follow up and put a lot of effort with little funding explicitly to do that. So it's complicated, even for the researchers or the practitioners, the activists, the NGOs, and so on, that are part in general of the let's say the starting group for a school that eventually becomes permanent. This is a more or less of a common trend. Coming to schools in the Balkan region, I started when I was asked to make this research, which I was very happy to make, exploring by their communication and visibility efforts to explore what was there around, and you find easily around the Mediterranean region, like southern Spain, but all the entire territory of Spain, I would say, and France over the Pyrenees and Alpine region, Italy here and there. I don't have access to the languages in which they communicate in the Balkan regions, and this is perhaps why there's a hole in my research in there. But eventually, I didn't find much out of that region, and there is not such a thing like let me call it a movement of pastoral schools. We were talking about that yesterday with Sabina, like someone with a mission to expand or reinforce, empower the pastoral schools, but getting in touch with the operating ones through the European or local projects or funding or permanent budget they have, and trying to stay in contact to network, I think is a good starting point, because of the growing trend we have seen earlier. I mean, I think these years and next years will be a good time for trying and starting. Then following up, then continuing will be another challenge. This is my perception of the thing. Francisco, or
I'm no expert in this subject, but okay, in the Andalusian Shepherd School, we try to work with the environmental role shepherd with the student and with the shepherd mentor. Here, the regional administration work with the shepherd network to work in the Fulbrick, okay? In this moment, I think the 200 shepherds work in this network. Administration pay for this work. We try with the student work to communication. I think it's a very big problem for the pastoral system and pastoral sector. And then in this moment, the regional administration, they try to do a program to improve the extensive livestock in Andalusia. In this moment, at the regional administration and the university, shepherd association, okay, we are trying to do some important for the improve for the livestock extensive or pastoral livestock system in Andalusia.
Thanks, Francisco. Can I just ask, I mean, is this support from the junta, which sounds very important to you, is that something that's relatively new? Did you struggle to get that support, or has that always been there?
No, I think it's I don't know in English, but it could be very important to work with the administration, but situation here, the extensive livestock in Andalusia, I think is the most important activity in the territory, no economy, but in the territory is the most important. All program that the regional administration try to do to improve society, environmental aspect, shepherd, their animal, do this program, but no money for the shepherd, no money for the improve the sector. This one is the problem. Maybe money to forest, to different intensive system in different sector, but the last one is shepherd. But now we have a big problem because the number of shepherds in Andalusia is goes down very quickly. I hope in this moment administrations could do a big program for improve the sector.
Okay, thank you for that. We have a question in from Anne. Are most of the schools local initiatives? What's this? If so, Anne, would you actually like to introduce the question?
Okay. I was interested, I get the impression that most of the schools are local initiatives, maybe inspired by somebody in the neighborhood, not so far away, but it doesn't seem to me like it's sort of a national movement or a European movement yet. And would that then mean that if, let's say, in the Balkans, such as pastoralist schools would be starting up, it would have to also be a local initiative, maybe inspired by what you have been doing elsewhere in Europe?
Thanks, Anne. And in particular, who's that addressed to?
It's actually addressed to both, because Alessandro has made the study and Francisco is, well, Paco is doing the schooling.
Okay, who would like to take that first?
I can also, because I get to hear and talk in this moment. I mean, I'm having a little bit of trouble in keeping the connection in the last 5 minutes. So let's try and be fast. I fully agree. I mean, unless we have a local interest and activation triggering group, I think it will be very hard to have any local or any experience of pastoral schools. And connecting to existing ones might help a lot to solve problems or to gain experience from others and best practices, and then develop your own or locally adapted recipes. This is my opinion. As I say, the moment I think is rather favorable, but nothing is granted. And then there's a very big problem in my experience, or as far as I've had the chance to explore, in continuing. And because funds are not granted regularly, and probably those who make a big effort to have a first edition of the school, then they have to get back to other businesses or activities. What do you think, Francisco? Over.
Yes, I agree here. In Spain, we have, I think it's 10 shepherd school. We try to work in network. We have a WhatsApp group. If we have a problem, we try to speak with another college. One time per year, we try to have a meeting normally with the Territorios Pastoreales, a congress here in Spain, and we try one time per year, one day of work to change problem, to change. And the last year, one of the our mission is to change students between a school. And the last year, 2 students from Andalusia went to the Aragon school in the Pyrenees to stay with 2 shepherds in the mountain for the one of period for the practice of school. But yes, it's local because the livestock system are very different. Here in Spain, in Andalusia, we have mountain 300 meters with cow and sheep. Transhumance in the north of Jaén province. We have a big group of shepherds who they do transhumance all year. I think it's 50,000 sheep in the north of province of Jaén. It's local, but very difficult to do simple shepherd school because the systems are very heterogeneous or different.
Thanks, Francisco. Thanks for that insight. As Anne says in the chat, some good examples of networking and mutual learning in Spain. So thank you for that. I wonder if it's maybe a moment to turn some questions over to the audience. So maybe we can get the audience to think about some of the things they've been hearing. As we said at the beginning, perhaps there's some things that the audience might reflect on. So, for example, is there anything that caught your attention particularly about these presentations that you think you might want to comment on? And how does this resonate with your experience of pastoralism elsewhere, particularly to our students who were following in the youth working group MOOC? If there are any questions about or any thoughts about parallels and divergences between this experience and your own experience of pastoralism in the Global South. And then perhaps any reflections on wider learnings or insights that come from this exchange, from this juxtaposition, from contrasting the experience in Europe and the experience in the Global South. So there's one last question. But while you're mulling those over, there's one last question in from Sabine.
We have some contact in South America with 2 shepherd schools in the north of Chile and the north of Colombia. maybe networking of Shepherd School International.
There's a bit of a question. There's an answer back to you, Sabine. And that's
I think it could be an idea for the future to network the shepherd schools. Also, perhaps we don't have shepherd schools in Germany, I think, but we have agricultural schools, and they have special shepherd classes. And I think it would be an interesting thing to communicate between each others. Also, online would be a possibility to get in contact and to discuss. Perhaps this could be interesting for both sides, and yes, perhaps we could follow up this for the future. Bye.
Thank you, Sabine. Any other comments from the audience? Now we're coming towards the end of the session. Any thoughts or reflections on things that struck you? Any aspects that you think are interesting parallels or patent areas of difference from your own experience? Any suggestions?
Okay.
Seems not.
Uh,
Francisco, do you want to talk to us? Maybe, well, go ahead. I mean, do you want to talk?
Okay, in Andalusia, normally it's 60% men and 40% women.
Good.
But in 2023, 50-50. We try to 50-50.
Dr. Smruti, do you have a question?
Hello, good afternoon. Just a remark and a feedback. It was good listening to the European School of Shepherd and Herding because it is mostly of the temperate climate zone. But then here I'm working with the communities in Jammu and Kashmir and in India. And they are working also with the sheep and goats. So it was a good perspective because it is for the very first time I'm directly listening to the shepherd communities from Europe. So thank you for this thank you to this platform actually. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smruti. Francesca, you've had your hand up for a little while. I'm sorry I haven't seen it. So yes, would you like to contribute?
No problem. I have a question for Paco. As pastoral traditional knowledge is very specific of the different regions and don't speak about specific for every country, how do you deal with this in your specific school, as you have also people from other parts of the country and as you said, even the Senegalese? Do you have also tutors in other regions of Spain? I don't think you have a tutor in Senegal.
Okay, we have maybe the 80% of shepherd mentors are Andalusian shepherd. Then we have a shepherd mentor in another region, in Extremadura, Murcia, Baleares, in different regions. And for us, we don't have a lot of time to take all traditional knowledge because we have time and we have personal to work in this, but only we try to 1 time per week or 2 times per week to collaborate with a shepherd mentor in class to speak about the thematic that we work this week. Maybe feeding, health, dairy production, meat production, and they speak about his or her knowledge. But
Thank you.
We have, I know, but I don't have more time.
Fine. Thank you, Francisco, and thank you, Francesca, for the question. Very important about the specificity of the local knowledge. Also ties in with an interesting point that Alessandro mentioned earlier about bringing people into a community and the social ties that are created as part of the schools. So it's that the knowledge is not just knowledge of the environment as in the strict natural environment, but also the social environment in which they're going to work, and how that can regenerate an area by bringing in people who then bring their expertise. I think we've run out of time. So I'm sorry, folks, we're going to have to wrap things up. This has been a fantastic, really interesting session. If you do have any further questions for Francisco or Alessandro, you can pop them in the chat quickly now, or you can send them through to us as the organizers. But for now, I think we'll wrap up. Sabina, do you have any last words?
I think it was an exciting exchange, and I think maybe we have, together with our fellow colleagues from Africa, India, etc., have the chance to digest what we have heard, and maybe also to find out what could that mean. Maybe also for some of the countries. For me, it resonates a little bit what Roda shared with the cultural school kind of exchange at village or level, where they really try hard to engage in conserving and in a lively way their cultural heritage, which is also completely similar to their pastoral identity. And I think that's maybe one starting point to think about how this could maybe give the shepherding school could give some ideas to what Roda's initiative does already. So that was my thinking. But I think all of us, we have the chance to digest what we heard and look and find ways maybe to inspire our own actions. Thank you so much to all of you, especially to our two guests, Alessandro Resi and Francisco Ruiz. Thank you for the different questions raised, and I think it was really very interesting. Thank you. See you soon, and good luck for all of your plans in future, the different workshops and maybe meetings coming up. We wish you good success. So have a nice day, all of you, and see you soon, maybe in one way or the other.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Francesca.
Yeah.
No, thanks again, because you made the contact.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yes. I think it was a really great session, really rich. Gives us a lot to think about. I wonder whether we need to summarize some of the messages coming.
Fortunately, we have the recording.
Give a look to this Ecotrans H project that we are running, because it's very, very important. I put you the name
into the chat. That would be great.
Well, I had put another thing, but it's too late. Ecotrans is the name of the Erasmus Plus project. It's begun between all these 6 countries and three continents. Now we will meet in Romania in May. So the first meeting with students and teachers was in Greece, and the students produced the film I put in the chat. And now in Greece, we will work on a serious game that is to involve all the how you say, stakeholders of a zone be it hotels, be it shepherds, be it agriculture, be it whatever, to work together, because very often you have an agriculturist who needs animals to eat the rests and fertilize, and on the other side you have pastoralists who need to eat something and they don't know each other. So this is a serious game invented in France and that we are trying to make international, with the inputs from Mongolia, from Morocco, from Romania, from Greece. So it's really broad, and we will present it now in May in Romania. And next year, 2026, will be the meeting in Italy, and it is on tastes and all the products of transhumans, how to. A book of recipes of the 6 countries will come out in order to let know about the importance and of course how to cook also because animals who are eating or who are feeding on grass very often have a different taste than these homogeneous industrially produced meat. So
very right.
Okay, then let's
We
keep in
all
touch.
long for the
I hope to
Sahelian
work
meat.
together with you both in
Okay.
common projects.
Thank you so
Goodbye.
much. Thank you,
Looking
Francesca.
forward. Okay, so
Okay,
bye
looking forward.
again. And I
A
think,
pleasure to know you, David, and a pleasure to see you, Sabine.
yeah,
Great to meet you, Francesca.
yes.
Take
Okay.
care. All right, I'm gonna have to go. Sorry, I have another meeting.
Yes, no problem. I will go to the
Thank you. Bye, everyone.